everyone, Novels Wonderland here. Thank you all for the love and support you've shown me and the channel.
Welcome to Novels Wonderland, Naruto from Ninja Academy to an Early Grave, Chapter 145 to 150, Chapter 145, A Big, Round Ball. 1890 words. On the night of the Ninetales attack, Konohagakure was thrown into chaos. That very night, while Konoha's shinobi were busy evacuating civilians and dealing with the tailed beast, unable to spare attention elsewhere, some people with ulterior motives began making their moves. Some used contact methods that would normally be easily detected to send Konoha's intelligence back to their respective villages as quickly as possible. They were spies planted in Konoha by other forces. There were quite a few of them, and they were deeply hidden. Unless a major incident occurred in Konoha, they would not reveal themselves. Some witnessed the terrifying power of a tailed beast and drooled with envy, attempting to claim that world-destroying power for themselves. But they did not have the courage to rush forward and seize the Ninetales directly. Taking advantage of the chaos to collect some of the Ninetales chakra, however, that courage they did have, and in great measure. Makoto knew of people like Kazuma, but he did not care. The other party did not belong to Konoha's shinobi ranks. Rather, he was a ninja who served the daimyo of the Land of Fire, occasionally traveling between Konoha and the capital due to official duties, and he had happened to be present when the Ninetales incident occurred. This fellow was an extreme daimyo loyalist. He had always been dissatisfied with the dual gem system, in which the Hokage stood on equal footing with the daimyo. Unfortunately, his strength and foundation were insufficient, so for the moment he had not yet revealed his ambitions. For now, he was quietly preparing his plans in secret. Just a clown who could not see the bigger picture, thinking that by collecting a bit of chakra and creating a pseudo-jinchuriki, he could threaten Konoha. He probably left the house without his eyes that day, unable to see that even the Ninetales itself was tied up by Konoha like a dog. The third Hokage naturally knew that news of the Ninetales rampage could not be contained. So that very night, after ending his brief meeting with Danzo and the other two, he used the contact Toad Jiraiya had left behind to send an order to his disciple to return to the village. But not immediately. He still had to find a way to bring back Konoha's #1 healer. Hiruzen believed that Tsunade would return. If there was still anyone in the village that she cared about, that person would certainly be Uzumaki Kushina. It definitely would not be him, her teacher. All the major powers of the shinobi world received the news immediately. Yet no one made any move, they were still observing. They were waiting for more detailed follow-up intelligence to assess the extent of Konoha's losses. They were also waiting for someone to lose patience and make the first move, helping them test Konoha's true condition. These forces did not include Tsunagakure. Those sand-playing fellows were currently eager for everyone's attention to shift elsewhere and focus on Konoha, because earlier this year they had also replaced their Jinchuriki, and at the moment they were at their weakest. Amid this strange peace and quiet in the shinobi world, 5 days passed in the blink of an eye. As a hero who had fought the Ninetales that night and saved many companions, Makoto naturally received free time to rest because his chakra had been excessively depleted. He could recuperate for as long as he wished, and the third Hokage and the others would have absolutely no objections. This also gave him time to become familiar with his brand new power. Just as he had predicted, after his natural energy training entered the third stage, the permanent sage mode, his previously almost stagnant training in chakra yin-yang control and attribute control also began to show visible progress. Now, when he used ninjutsu, it felt far more effortless. After all, the chakra inside his body no longer contained those chaotic, unknown wills, it had become a power that completely belonged to him. Sometimes he even wondered whether it was precisely because the wills within chakra were so mixed that it was easy for shinobi to refine it, yet extremely difficult to control it with precision. The vast majority of shinobi could only reach the stage of casting ninjutsu in their lifetime. It was very hard for them to push the training of the 5 elemental nature transformations to a deeper level, and yin-yang attributes were even more difficult. Near noon, at the training ground near the Higashino residence, Makoto, who appeared to be sitting cross-legged on a tree trunk but was in fact floating, opened his eyes. He withdrew from his wind-release training, slowly descended, and sat down on the tree trunk. A white-haired ANBU suddenly appeared beside him. "So tell me, Kakashi-senpai, what's the point of you wearing that ANBU mask?" "Well, just because you can recognize me doesn't mean others can. And even if someone does recognize me, does a white-haired ANBU necessarily have to be me?" That was true. Creating the habitual impression that any white-haired ANBU must be Hatake Kakashi of Konoha could produce unexpected effects at critical moments. It was a common method of misdirection used by shinobi. Since Minato and Kushina had not died on the night of the Nine Tails, Kakashi was now far more cheerful, and had not become that gloomy man wrapped in darkness who refused to let anyone approach him. "What did you come to see me about?" "My sensei wants to see you." "All right then. Let's go together." When they arrived outside Minato's house, Kakashi automatically returned to his post, hiding in the shadows and carefully carrying out his duty as a guard. Even though Kushina had already given birth successfully and no longer required such strict protection, Kakashi would not relax in the slightest. He never wanted to lose anyone close to him again. The door to the residence was open. From outside, Makoto could see another white-haired man sitting by the table, staring seriously in one direction. Jiraiya had returned. Makoto was not surprised. He was merely curious about what kind of troublesome situation he could have encountered in Minato's home. Too lazy to sense things carefully, he simply slipped quietly into the room, stood beside Jiraiya, and instantly became just like him. His expression turned extremely serious. This matter was very serious. In the living room on the other side of the table stood a baby cradle. With her back to them, Kushina sat beside it, holding a bottle as she fed little Naruto. Her intense motherly affection had absorbed all her attention, and she did not even notice Makoto's arrival. There was infant formula in the shinobi world, used as a nutritional supplement for babies besides breast milk. However, it was expensive and currently considered a high-end consumer product. Aside from places like Konohagakure or large cities, most civilians in the shinobi world could hardly afford it. But that was not the main point. On the other side of the cradle stood a mature woman with a broad chest and a pair of golden twin tails. She was bending down to tease Naruto, facing directly toward this side. Tsunade sensed that another pair of eyes had joined in peeking at her. She suddenly lifted her head, her gaze blazing like fire. Jiraiya flushed and quickly turned his head aside, pretending to look like a proper gentleman. Makoto inwardly scoffed, what a lecherous coward, bold and lust yet timid as if afraid of a dog bite. Tsunade took 2 quick steps and walked up to Makoto. "Kid, have you seen enough? Does it look good?" "It looks good." "And what do you feel?" "Really beautiful, big and round." Tsunade's anger was already close to bursting. Her brows were furrowed so tightly they could have crushed a fly. "You're quite honest, aren't you? Not even trying to hide the fact that you're a little pervert. This kind of toy seems pretty popular in Konoha. Quite a few mothers buy one for their children." "Kid, what are you talking about?" Makoto pointed at the pile of toys Kushina had bought during her pregnancy in a burst of reckless spending. "I'm talking about the ball." "You're Tsunade-sama, right? Why do you look so unhappy? Did someone make you angry?" "Heh. Konoha really wasn't a good place. She shouldn't have come back." At that moment Tsunade felt like she had been played, but she had no proof. But as a hot-tempered older single woman, when had Tsunade ever needed proof to hit someone? "Go to hell, you dishonest brat." Her snow-white fist came smashing down toward Makoto's head. Jiraiya sat to the side, secretly delighted. Finally, he wasn't the one getting beaten. Having someone else take the blame felt wonderful. Then his eyeballs almost dropped to the floor. A small patch of earth-yellow chakra suddenly appeared above Higashino Makoto's head, forming a shield that blocked Tsunade's punch. "Earth release, One-Horn Great Wall had now automatically joined his Sage Technique package. Makoto swore he hadn't done it on purpose. It was simply an instinctive reaction. Ever since entering the third stage, the permanent Sage mode, casting ninjutsu had become much easier for him. A mere thought was enough. He didn't even need to rely on his hands anymore, any part of his body could release it. Just like the Hyuga clan's strongest defensive technique, rotation. Jiraiya was extremely envious. Amazing. He swore he would definitely learn this move. Once he did, he could let Tsunade hit him as much as she wanted. Tsunade rubbed her fist, glanced at Minato's house, and gave up the idea of throwing another punch with monstrous strength. She was afraid the young couple's hearts might not be able to handle it. But no matter what, she had to vent this frustration. So she casually punched Jiraiya on the head instead. Bastard, this is all your fault for teaching him. The old white-haired man hadn't expected that he still wouldn't escape in the end. He felt extremely wronged. I didn't teach him that. At that moment, after feeding Naruto, Kushina came over. Makoto, you're here. Looks like you already know Tsunade-san, so I don't need to introduce you. When she was young, she had lived together with Uzumaki Mito, and had called her grandmother, alongside Tsunade, so calling Tsunade-san was perfectly natural. It even made her appear one generation senior to Minato. Kushina-senpai, Tsunade-sama's features are so distinctive. Of course I recognize her. Stop calling me senpai all the time. Your Fuinjutsu was taught by me, you should call me sensei. Alright, Kushina-sensei. At that moment, Minato said, Makoto, you came at just the right time. Stay and have a meal with us. Poor fourth Hokage, before Makoto arrived, he had the best cooking skills among everyone there. Even while recovering from his injuries, he had become the cook for the group, and his family status had sunk to the basement. Tsunade silently observed the casual way they interacted. It seemed Jiraiya hadn't been wrong. This kid really did have a very good relationship with Minato's family. She and Jiraiya had just arrived in Konoha. The moment they returned, they came straight to Minato's house. As for their teacher, the third Hokage. Who was that again? I will post some extra chapters in Patreon, you can check it out. Patreon.com/TitoViller. Chapter 146, Chapter 146. Some people returned but turned around and left again. 2,190 words. Tsunade clearly knew the purpose of her return. After the meal, she immediately pulled Kushina into the bedroom and conducted a thorough examination. When the two came out, Jiraiya asked with concern, "How is it, Tsunade? Kushina isn't having any problems, right? Her body is weak. With half a year of rest, she'll recover, so for now there's no problem. But what happens later is hard to say." What? I knew the matter of a Jinchuriki wouldn't be that simple. Do you have a way to solve it? Sorry, Jiraiya. I can't solve it, and it doesn't need me to solve it. I'm right, aren't I, kid? Don't worry, Tsunade-sama. I'll continue improving it afterward. Jiraiya looked a little curious. What does this have to do with Makoto? The sealing formula Kushina is using now to seal the nine tails is no longer the four symbols seal, but another kind of seal I haven't fully understood yet, Tsunade explained. Then she looked at Makoto. You're quite capable, kid. You actually developed that seal, what was it called again? Higashino Makoto, two-form seal. Right, two-form seal. By reconstructing the balance between a human's spirit and body, it changes the fate of a Jinchuriki dying after having their tailed beast extracted. That's impressive. But kid, do you know what this sealing technique means for the shinobi world? It's not only effective for Jinchuriki. For some people who are severely injured and on the verge of death, it's also effective. I know. Tsunade was right. Many times, when a shinobi suffered severe injuries, it wasn't that there were no methods to save them, it was that there wasn't enough time. the person died before their body could be properly treated. But the two-form seal could temporarily lock a wounded person's life in place, delaying death slightly and extending the golden window for treatment. Sometimes, even 1 extra minute was the difference between life and death. Good that you know. If other ninja villages learn about this, you'll be in trouble. So protect yourself well, don't die so easily, kid. Don't worry, Tsunade-sama. Killing me won't be easy. Tsunade paused. According to what Jiraiya had said, Makoto himself could fly, and now he had also learned Granduncle's Flying Thunder God technique. As long as he wasn't foolish, killing him would indeed be very difficult, unlike certain fools. 2 figures she longed for day and night flashed through her mind. Unfortunately, they were no longer here. After pushing down the sudden surge of sorrow, Tsunade said, "Come on, Minato. I'll check you as well." The seemingly weak Minato looked a little embarrassed. "I'm fine. There's no need to check." The methods he had used on himself could mislead the medical corps, but they certainly couldn't deceive Tsunade's eyes as the greatest medical ninja. One examination would expose everything. In fact, refusing the examination was itself an answer. Tsunade quickly understood the situation. It seems that after becoming Hokage, things are different. You've grown more scheming than before. Jiraiya was no longer the fool he had been in his youth. What do you mean? Minato is fine. Tsunade, probably. If he's fine, why retire? Tsunade glanced at her idiotic former teammate. Then you should ask our respected sensei. And besides, you should know perfectly well what kind of people those 3 old things under Danzo are, shouldn't you, Jiraiya? Jiraiya very much wanted to question his teacher, but he knew it would be useless, and would only make things harder for Minato, so he could only sigh. I just hope Sensei realizes that sooner rather than later. Honestly, wouldn't it be better to retire properly, and go home to enjoy his old age? Tsunade said disdainfully, I really don't know what's so great about that lousy Hokage position. When he had the chance, he wouldn't step down. Isn't that old geezer afraid he'll die in it? A certain 4th Hokage. Jiraiya did not want to keep talking about this, so he changed the subject. Minato, what exactly happened that night? After Minato briefly explained what had happened, he deliberately emphasized, I do not believe that Mysterious Man is one of the village's Uchiha. Jiraiya-sensei, when you travel through the shinobi world in the future, just keep an eye out for information about him. If you do see him, it would be best not to engage him in direct combat. His space-time ninjutsu is very troublesome. I understand. Sigh, the Uchiha. Jiraiya thought of the Uchiha clan in the village. Fugaku is going to have quite the headache as clan head now. As a member of the Senju clan, Tsunade did not have a good impression of the Uchiha, but neither did she bear them any particular ill will, so she could not be bothered to think about this mess. At the same time, they also trusted Minato's judgment. That mysterious man was definitely not Uchiha Madara. Minato did not mention that the mysterious man also knew would release, and he was even less likely to reveal Obito's identity, or the matter of the true and false Ninetales Jinchuriki. Since Jiraiya and Tsunade had already distanced themselves from the whirlpool that was Konoha, there was no need to drag them back into it. That would only make things even more troublesome. Now that the public matters had been discussed, Tsunade stretched lazily. Well then, official business is done. Next, it's time to settle a personal grudge. Jiraiya said, Tsunade, since when did you make enemies with someone in the village? Tsunade pointed at Makoto, who had been pretending not to exist off to the side. Kid, come out. Let's have a chat. At such a young age, and you already dare to peep at me. You've got a lot of nerve. I didn't. I really was looking at the ball. You think I'd believe that nonsense? Jiraiya-sama did it too. I've already beaten him up often enough. Now I want to try something new. As expected of a woman pushing 40, she could actually say something that sounded so brazenly predatory. At the training ground, Makoto stood on full alert, while Jiraiya remained perfectly at ease. That violent woman's temper might not be very good, but she still knew her limits. Nothing serious would happen. Kid, I heard your medical ninjutsu is pretty good too. It's all right, Tsunade-sama. Mainly because my mother taught me well. Who is your mother? Higashino Megumi. Before she got married, she was simply called Megumi. The period when Megumi had studied medical ninjutsu was precisely when Tsunade had been vigorously training medical nin in Konoha. Most medical nin of their generation had received Tsunade's instruction. Tsunade carefully looked at Makoto's face, then thought for a moment. Oh, it's that little girl's child. I didn't expect her son to be this big already. It seems she raised you well. Now I'm relieved. As soon as she finished speaking, she pressed down with her foot, stamping a pit into the ground, and rushed toward Makoto like a gust of wind. Her fist swung out immediately. Makoto only wanted this Onisama to finish hitting him quickly and call it a day. He did not fight back, merely condensed a chakra shield to block the blows and obediently served as a human punching bag. Bang 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 bang. A series of pounding sounds immediately echoed across the training ground. After one round of punches, Tsunade stopped. Kid, put away that lousy turtle shell of yours. Can't you just let me give you a proper beating? Makoto felt the force he had just endured and formed a guess in his mind. He immediately agreed. All right, Tsunade-sama. Please continue. That's more like it. If I beat you to my satisfaction, I won't hold it against you for peeping at me. Otherwise, I'll tell your mother about it. You're this good-looking, so there must be quite a few little girls secretly admiring you. You wouldn't want them to find out you're a pervert, would you? Sorry, Tsunade-sama. Do you think someone who looks like me still needs to act like a pervert? Jiraiya, so you're saying I'm ugly? What an interesting kid, Tsunade said with a slight smile as she charged over again, throwing the same punch as before. Makoto crossed his arms in front of his body to block. The blow sent him sliding back a considerable distance, his feet carving two straight grooves into the ground. Tsunade had indeed held back. If she had really gone all out, Makoto would have already been blasted out of the training ground. Tsunade-sama, didn't you eat enough just now? You don't even have the strength to hit someone. Because of that loose tongue, he immediately suffered a storm-like barrage of attacks. While blocking, Makoto fully concentrated on sensing and learning Tsunade's chakra usage. The woman's monstrous strength punches were not purely physical power, but a sophisticated method of compressing and explosively releasing chakra. The control involved was extremely refined. Soon, the punching bag that had been getting beaten began to fight back. While imitating and correcting his movements, Makoto gradually went from passively taking blows to occasionally slipping in a punch of his own. A moment later, when Tsunade threw another straight punch, Makoto answered with a straight punch of his own. Terrifying force and chakra exploded between them. With a loud crash, the ground was blasted into a bowl-shaped crater several meters in diameter, with countless cracks spreading outward like a dense spiderweb. Afterward, the two of them jumped out of the pit, and returned to stand beside Jiraiya. You learn fast, kid. Now I believe that two forms seal really was developed by you. Thank you for your guidance, Tsunade-sama. I didn't teach you anything. You're just smart. Jiraiya felt like an idiot. Was it really that easy? Makoto said, not really. My force application is still too crude. I'll still need to spend some time getting familiar with this explosive technique before it can be considered mastered. Forget it. You'd better teach me that chakra shield instead. At least it would make it hurt less when I get beaten up. Well, for that, you first need to shape your chakra into a fixed form, a shield or a sphere. Then you solidify the shape using stabilization runes from sealing techniques. After that, depending on the type of attack you're facing, you fill it with chakra that has different nature transformations. Jiraiya scratched his white hair, feeling that it sounded a bit difficult. He continued, forget it. I heard you helped Minato perfect the follow-up to the Rasengan. Let me see it. Makoto raised his hand and condensed a wind release, Rasen Shuriken. This is the ninjutsu created after adding the sharpness nature transformation of wind release to the Rasengan. As for the method, Minato-senpai should have already told you about it. He did mention it, but it looks like it'll still be hard for me to do. I'd have to strengthen the wind release nature transformation further. And this jutsu looks pretty dangerous. Tsunade stepped slightly farther away. Condensing such high-density sharpness-type chakra in your hand is extremely harmful to the human body. Disperse it quickly. Makoto was already in a constant sage mode, so he did not feel any harm, but he still obediently dispersed it. Jiraiya looked pained. Why is everything so difficult? I can't learn any of this quickly. Tsunade mocked him. If you want to learn it, first reach the same level of extreme chakra control as this kid. Was Jiraiya really an idiot? Was his ninjutsu talent insufficient? Not really. He was simply the type who needed time to ponder and gradually find a learning method that suited him. The path taken by Makoto and Minato did not suit him. Well, anyway, I already know the method. I'll figure it out sooner or later. Sorry about that, Makoto. Everything I know, Minato already knows, so there's nothing I can really teach you. After thinking for a moment, Jiraiya added quietly, but I'm planning to write a novel that's suitable for men to read. Once it's published, I'll send you a signed copy. Then I'll thank you in advance, Jiraiya-sama. Although Makoto had no interest in that kind of erotic novel, it could always be used to lure Kakashi in the future. Well then, if there's nothing else, I'll be leaving first. Remember, don't die so easily, kid. After saying that, Tsunade turned and left, looking very carefree. Let's go together. Well then, Makoto, goodbye. Jiraiya chased after her like an eager follower while complaining, honestly, I originally planned to go see Sensei, but it looks like there won't be time now. Makoto watched the direction the two of them left. Most likely, they would not go see Sarutobi Hiruzen. There were some matters they did not want to involve themselves in, so they could only send this kind of signal to their teacher, showing that their position was on Minato's side. I will post some extra chapters in Patreon, you can check it out. Patreon.com/TitoViller. Chapter 147, Chapter 147, Kirigakure and the Uchiha both have a bright future. 2,141 words. Since Rin's death, Obito had become hopelessly addicted to role-playing, routinely wearing Madara's identity like a mask as he went around the shinobi world running pyramid schemes and deceiving people. There was no helping it. Obito himself only had a bit of fame in Konohagakure, who in the wider shinobi world even knew him. Madara's name was simply too useful. The prestige was high, anyone who used it knew how effective it was. Ever since awakening the Mangekyo Sharingan and obtaining the bug-level space-time Dojutsu Kamui, Obito had become somewhat overconfident. He did not believe there was anyone in the shinobi world capable of killing him. Unexpectedly, this time he suffered a huge setback in Konohagakure. First, a brat from the Umbu pierced his heart, and then his own teacher caught up with him, nearly sending him straight to the Pure Land with a single Rasengan. He had not even had time to use Izanagi. If Black Zetsu had not rescued him quickly, he would have had to go to the Pure Land and report his work to the real Madara. The incident had even left him with a bit of psychological fear toward Konohagakure. It was not that he feared death. What he feared was dying before fulfilling his wish, to create a world where Rin could live forever in safety and happiness. Before that goal was achieved, he absolutely could not die. Inside the underground space where Uchiha Madara had once hidden. After several days of recuperation, Obito was once again fully recovered. Half of his body was composed of white Zetsu, and in theory any injury should heal almost instantly. The fact that he had needed several days of rest before recovering was enough to prove how serious his injuries had been this time. Physical damage could be repaired quickly. The main issue was that Minato was a ninja with keen powers of observation. After seeing that Obito did not die even after Makoto stabbed his heart, he slammed a Rasengan directly into Obito's head, nearly shattering what little sanity he had left. Unfortunately, the Rasen Shuriken's chakra fluctuations were too violent. Minato was still unable to use Flying Thunder God to carry it through space-time. Otherwise, Obito could have achieved the distinction of becoming the first person in the shinobi world to personally taste that technique. One hit would guarantee immediate ascension to the heavens. At this moment, the fully recovered Obito fastened his mask, put on his hooded outfit, adjusted his voice to sound like Madara's, and arrogantly asked the black and white Zetsu standing beside him, "Have you found out who the Konohagakure that ambushed me was?" White Zetsu bared his teeth, and replied with a hint of schadenfreude, "It's someone you know. Why don't you take a guess? If you guess wrong." Obito could not be bothered to guess. "Stop the nonsense. Just say it. It's that brat called Higashino Makoto. He's a member of the 4th Hokage's Shadow Guard unit, and he has also learned the Flying Thunder God technique. In front of the entire village, he used that technique to transfer the Nine Tails outside Konohagakure. I imagine that at the time, he also used Flying Thunder God to flash behind you. So it really was that guy." In Obito's mind appeared the scene of Makoto making him lose face in front of Rin. Old hatred combined with new resentment, the more he thought about it, the more he disliked him. White Zetsu continued rubbing salt into his wounds. That brat has achieved great merit on the battlefield more than once. With this latest feat added on, he has become a hero recognized by all of Konohagakure. So, former hero of Konohagakure, do you have anything to say about that? If you do, I can prepare a microphone and a loudspeaker for you. Shut up. For some reason, he actually felt a bit envious of Makoto, but he quickly suppressed that emotion and changed the subject. What about the 4th and the Jinchuriki? Are they still alive? Unfortunately, they're both still alive. It's just that their injuries are too severe, so they've temporarily withdrawn from the public eye. Konohagakure has too many experts in strange jutsu. My clone didn't dare stay in the village for too long, so this is all the intelligence I managed to get. Well, that is a bit unfortunate, but this is enough. After thinking for a moment, Obito asked curiously, if a tailed beast that has been extracted is sealed back into the Jinchuriki's body, can the Jinchuriki be brought back to life? White Zetsu said nothing. His intelligence and knowledge were both quite limited, so Black Zetsu answered instead, I don't know. Nothing like that has happened before, so all I can say is that it's possible. If you want a definite answer, perhaps Kirigakure would have intelligence of that kind. On this point, Black Zetsu truly was not lying. After their boss used Yin-Yang release to split the 10 tails into 9-tailed beasts, he sent them into suitable environments to be raised free-range. Over these 1,000-odd years, shinobi had naturally always been after the tailed beasts, but very few had succeeded. The thing of seizing all the tailed beasts in one go and sealing them in an instant had only appeared in the last few decades. It could only be said that Senju Hashirama was too absurdly overpowered. In Black Zetsu's eyes, there was really no difference between this man and his beloved nephew Azura, and in terms of combat performance, he was even much stronger. Obito muttered, Kirigakure, huh? Very good. Those bastards may love messing around, but they're still somewhat useful. From now on, let's shift our focus over there. Black Zetsu, the true boss in substance, had no objection to this. The land of water was far from the mainland and closed off year-round, so it really was suitable for their scheming. Then what about Konohagakure? For the time being, leave Konohagakure alone. They're too strong, so put them last. Or we can wait for internal strife to break out on their side, and then look for an opportunity. Agreed. That was what Black Zetsu thought as well. With their current strength, it truly was not suitable for them to clash head-on with the strongest force. At the end he tried asking, Obito, your injuries were too severe this time. Do you feel any abnormalities now? No. I've already fully recovered. That's good. And also don't call me Obito. You are to call me Madara-sama. Yes, Madara-sama. This time, Black Zetsu did not mock him inwardly, because he had other thoughts in mind. That brat from Konohagakure called Higashino Makoto had, by sheer bad luck, stabbed Obito's heart with a single strike. Although he did not kill Obito, he destroyed the control seal that Madara had left there. During the past few days, Black Zetsu had quietly placed a new control seal on him, which was why he had just asked Obito how he was feeling. If it had not been for applying the seal mark, Obito actually would not have needed to remain unconscious for so long. For the sake of ensuring that his plan succeeded, Black Zetsu would absolutely not allow any possibility for the tools under his command to escape his control. The area of damage the Ninetales caused to Konohagakure's buildings was not very large, but the location was extremely important. The center of Konohagakure had become a field of ruins and needed to be rebuilt. And there, aside from the commercial district, the area was mainly occupied by the great clans. They were the original shareholders from the time Konohagakure was founded, so naturally they occupied the most central location. The clans that joined later, or the civilians who gradually gathered, built their residences around them, step by step expanding Konohagakure to the scale it had today. Neither the Land of Fire nor Konohagakure lacked money, so reconstruction was simple. Clear the ruins, level the land, and rebuild the houses exactly as they were. However, the higher-ups of Konohagakure decided to take advantage of this reconstruction to reorganize the territories of the various clans. The stated reason was that doing so would make Konohagakure look more orderly and more modern. The main purpose, naturally, was to take the opportunity to kick the Uchiha clan out of the village center and move them away from where the Ninetales Jinchuriki was located. For this kind of task that would offend people, Hiruzen pulled out his anti-Uchiha treasure, Shimura Danzo. Since this suggestion had originally been proposed by him, it was naturally up to him to carry it out. That morning, at Konohagakure's reconstruction meeting, the heads of the great clans all participated. Danzo enjoyed the feeling of being the center of everyone's attention. At that moment, he felt as though he were the Hokage, holding a stick and pointing across the map as he laid out the grand strategy. Regarding the allocation of each clan's territory, there were basically no major changes. Only 2 clans were relocated, but their situations were completely different. The Aburame clan had voluntarily requested relocation. Their clan had lived in the center of the village. When Konohagakure was first established, the outer areas were still forests, making everything very convenient. But as the village repeatedly expanded in size, their surroundings had all turned into residential districts, which was no longer very suitable for raising insects. So they applied to move to the edge of the village. The higher-ups approved the request and even allocated them a forest specifically for breeding various insects. The Uchiha clan, however, was relocated by force. Danzo pointed to an empty plot in the eastern corner of Konohagakure and said, "This time the headquarters building of the police force was damaged. There's no need to repair it, just rebuild it directly here." Correspondingly, the Uchiha clan should also move. As soon as Fugaku heard this, he immediately objected. It was obvious they were trying to push the Uchiha clan out of the village center. He stood up at once and retorted, "Danzo-sama, the Uchiha are the police force responsible for maintaining Konohagakure's security. This place is far too distant from the village center. If some emergency occurs, how are we supposed to respond?" Danzo's face darkened. "If there is an emergency, the Umbu will be dispatched." Fugaku became even more anxious. The police force's functions already overlapped with the Umbu to begin with. If things continued like this, the authority in the police force's hands would truly be reduced to little more than dealing with vendors occupying the streets. The dignified Uchiha clan fought bravely on the battlefield and won victories for Konohagakure, yet after returning home they could only do this. He cast a pleading look toward the third. Hiruzen ignored his request and said sternly, "The police force often needs to train, correct? There's a good training ground next to that area. From now on, it will be allocated exclusively for your clan's use." He offered a training ground as a consolation prize, directly extinguishing Fugaku's intention to continue resisting. The heads of the other clans all remained silent, tacitly accepting the matter. The Uchiha clan carried suspicions they could not clear in this Ninetales incident, and keeping the Sharingan away from the Jinchuriki was beneficial for everyone. None of them wanted to see the Ninetales run out again and dance in the center of Konohagakure. Fugaku looked around at the expressions of everyone present and immediately understood that the matter was already settled. It was not something he could change. He could only sit down and begin thinking about what to do afterward. At the end of the meeting, Hiruzen said to everyone, "The fourth is recovering from his injuries. I will temporarily assume the position of Hokage until he recovers. Konohagakure has suffered serious damage this time. I believe the other nations will not remain idle. The day after tomorrow I will travel to the capital of the Land of Fire to explain the matter to the daimyo, and request funds to handle the reconstruction and the possible war that may follow. I ask for everyone's full support." Yes, Third Sama. No one had any objections to this. Hiruzen had already served as Hokage for decades. Everyone was accustomed to following his command, and did not feel anything inappropriate about it. As for war, no one would shrink back. Protecting Konohagakure meant protecting their own families. On this point, even Fugaku, who had just been suppressed, would not hesitate. After the meeting ended, Fugaku's mind buzzed. His head ached terribly. How was he supposed to return and explain this to those straightforward clansmen of his? I will post some extra chapters in Patreon, you can check it out. Patreon.com/TitoViller. Chapter 148, Chapter 148, Fugaku, I'm having a really hard time. 2,111 words. Given the temperament of the Uchiha clan's ninja, once they learned that the village intended to kick them out of the central core area, they would explode on the spot and immediately gather to storm the Hokage residence to demand an explanation. Fugaku absolutely could not let them do that. Because of the Ninetales incident, the people in the village, from the higher-ups to ordinary ninja, already held grievances against them. If he allowed his clansmen to assemble and charge the Hokage residence again, how could the Uchiha clan continue to live in Konohagakure? But how was he supposed to appease them? Fugaku was extremely troubled. Damn it, he was being made difficult for by the higher-ups in the Konoha Council. And when he returned to the clan he still had to face the questioning of his own clansmen. He was simply taking heat from both sides. Being the clan head of this damned clan was truly no fun. As for how the Ninetales incident had occurred, aside from the few people present that night, no one actually knew the inside story. However, the fact that the Sharingan could control a tailed beast was intelligence many people already knew. And with the Ninetales rampage, after certain people spread the word, that piece of intelligence had now become public knowledge known to everyone. Thus their clan naturally bore original sin, something impossible to explain away. If things continued like this, the rift between the Uchiha clan and the rest of the village would only grow deeper, until in the end they would become like fire and water, completely irreconcilable. To solve the problem, he had to understand what had happened that night. Thinking of this, Fugaku came up with a small idea. The three people responsible for dealing with the Ninetales that night just happened to have a fairly good relationship with their family. Perhaps he could start from that angle. After lunch, the Uchiha clan held an assembly. As expected, all the clansmen who attended reacted fiercely, stubbornly refusing to agree to the relocation. Fugaku barely managed to calm them down through a mixture of coaxing and deception, and then invoked the authority of the clan head, telling everyone in a commanding tone that the move was non-negotiable. It truly was half coaxing, half deception. He told them that the other clans had also agreed to relocate, and that their clan could not appear different and unwilling to cooperate. In reality, only their clan and the Aburame clan were relocating. And the Aburame clan had applied for the move themselves because of the nature of their secret techniques. Unlike the Uchiha, who were completely being driven out of the center of Konoha. He could only do it this way, settle the relocation first. As for the future, that could be dealt with later. By then the matter would be a done deal, and once everyone had grown accustomed to living there, the clansman would probably only vent some dissatisfaction at him rather than break with the village. After leaving the clan shrine, he saw his son waiting for him at the entrance. Fugaku decided to let him step in and help with something. Itachi did not object to the relocation. Although he was overly mature for his age, at this age he still did not understand what this relocation truly meant. He was simply curious about the new clan compound and asked his father to accompany him to take a look. Fugaku did not oppose this. While visiting the training ground attached to the new clan compound, he even granted his son's request and taught him the Uchiha clan's most iconic family ninjutsu. And then this little kid learned it after just one look. Watching the highly powerful fire release, great fireball technique, Fugaku's originally gloomy mood suddenly brightened. His son really was an extraordinary genius. As expected of my son, Itachi. I have placed great expectations on you. After Jiraiya and Tsunade left, Makoto continued training at the training ground for a while longer, only preparing to head home around dusk. Aside from the central area having been reduced to ruins, quite a few chunks of flying debris from buildings had also smashed into some places on the outskirts that night. Those only needed some repairs. At this moment, construction was underway in many places. On the streets, members of the Uchiha police force occasionally passed by, and the residents who saw them did not look at them too kindly. In the past, people had only been impatient with the members of the Uchiha police force, feeling that they sometimes meddled too much or were not accommodating enough. But now, people avoided them whenever possible, and were even somewhat disgusted by them. Those looks were like the looks one would give a suspect who had destroyed one's own home. The villagers' frightened and uneasy emotions needed an outlet. Now that Minato and Kushina were still alive, there naturally would not be any rumors about the reincarnation of the demon fox, so the Uchiha had become the biggest scapegoats. This did not require guidance from the higher-ups or from Danzo. No gag order had been issued from above, and with ninja who understood the tailed beasts making their own guesses, public opinion would naturally develop in this direction. It was unavoidable. Danzo did not need to do anything at all. Letting things take their course was enough. As he neared his front door, Makoto saw a peculiar combination. Itachi was standing quietly on the street. Beside him was a little girl about his age, and most notably, he was still strapped with a baby carrier, with an infant nestled against his chest. The baby and the girl beside him seemed to be natural opposites. Whenever she got too close to Itachi, or whenever Itachi spoke with her for too long, the baby would start crying and fussing, only stopping after his dear older brother soothed him in a gentle voice. After seeing Makoto, Itachi ran straight over. "Makoto-senpai, I finally caught you." Makoto said in surprise, "Oh, Itachi, did you come specifically to look for me?" "Yes. Father asked me to ask you whether you have time tonight to come to my house for dinner." Makoto did not answer, instead looking at the baby. "Is this your younger brother Sasuke?" The moment his younger brother was mentioned, he forgot what his father had told him to do and said as if showing off a treasure, "Yes. He's very cute, isn't he, Makoto-senpai?" "It really is very cute." Makoto pinched the little guy's cheek. The little fellow did not resist and simply stared at this unfamiliar person with a pair of curious eyes. The little girl beside Itachi became excited after seeing Makoto. Clasping her hands in front of her chest, she asked, "Makoto, could it be that senpai is the hero of our Konoha, Higashino Makoto?" I think the person you're talking about should indeed be me." "Senpai, hello. My name is Uchiha Azumi. It's our first meeting, please take care of me." The little girl gave a serious bow. "All right, I've remembered your name." She truly was a beautiful little girl. Her big eyes were especially lively, almost as if they could speak, and the tear mole beneath the corner of her right eye was perfectly placed. No wonder the little guy had been opposing her since infancy. If he didn't show any resistance, his older brother would be carried off by a little temptress in the future. Only then did Itachi remember the real matter. "Senpai, about my father's invitation." For Uchiha Fugaku to send an invitation at a time like this, Makoto could guess his intention even with his hair. After briefly thinking it over, he replied, "Understood. I'll go." "Thank you, senpai. See you tonight." Itachi gave a serious bow, then left happily together with Izumi. Although he still did not understand everything, he had already noticed that the villagers' attitude toward his clan was not the same as before, and he had also seen the furious reactions of the clansmen who had come out of the clan meeting that afternoon. Instinctively, he felt that Makoto agreeing to his father's invitation at this time was a very good thing for his clan. After returning home, quite some time later his parents also got off work and came back together. "Mom, you don't need to make dinner for me. I'm going to visit someone's house tonight." "Got it." She did not remind Makoto about the details one should pay attention to when visiting someone else's home. There was no need to say such things. Her son understood far more than she did. Jiro was a little curious. "Makoto, whose house are you going to?" An invitation from clan head Fugaku. Jiro's expression became serious. "Makoto, I don't recommend that you go to the Uchiha clan at this time." "Father, it's fine. If anyone has objections, let them stand in front of me and say it." Jiro sighed somewhat helplessly. "You've always had your own ideas since you were little. I can't persuade you otherwise. But you must understand your influence in the village. After the Ninetales disaster, every move the Uchiha make is being watched by others. What that represents, I think you understand it better than I do." "Yes. That's exactly why I'm going." If Makoto were merely an ordinary 11-year-old boy, even if he possessed the strength of a jonin, he would not go, and more importantly, Fugaku would not have invited him. Because he would not possess the ability to change the overall situation. But he was not. He now had enough standing to act according to his own will, and he also had enough strength to influence the balance within Konoha. If anyone believed he did not, fine, go talk to the Ninetales and see whether it agrees. A little after 6 in the evening, Makoto left the house and headed toward the Uchiha clan's district. For now, they were still in the central area of Konoha. However, it would not be long before the entire clan was relocated to a corner of the village. That place had been specially chosen for them by Danzo, making it extremely convenient to monitor them from every direction. As Makoto approached the entrance of the Uchiha clan compound, an ANBU ninja suddenly jumped out from a nearby corner. Judging from the pattern on the mask on his face, he was one of Root's people. His tone was unfriendly. "Entry ahead is forbidden. This is the Uchiha clan's place, isn't it? It's not some secret restricted zone. Why can't I go in? Please return." The Root member spoke very little, but his actions made his attitude clear. His hand had already gripped the hilt of his sword. If it were ordinary people, they would not stop them at all and would only record it. But the meaning represented by the person in front of them was different. Makoto smiled. "Go ahead and try drawing that blade. Attacking a fellow ninja of the same village without cause gives me the right to kill you, including your other 2 teammates. Why don't you guess how many seconds the 3 of you could last against me?" In the end, the Root ninja did not dare draw his blade. Not fearing death did not mean they wished to seek death, and as for the claim that Root ninja had no emotions, just listen to it as a story. "I will report this matter to Danzo-sama. Suit yourself. If he has any objections, tell him to come find me personally." After saying that, Makoto swaggered straight into the Uchiha clan compound. Aside from ninja, a large number of ordinary people also lived in this clan. The compound contained complete shops and facilities. The clansmen could even solve their daily needs without leaving. It was practically a village within the village. Makoto was not unfamiliar with this place. He had come here before to look for Shisue. However, after the Night of the Ninetales, the clan compound had also suffered considerable damage, yet none of it had been repaired. After all, they had already decided to relocate, why bother fixing it? No one knew which clan this place would be assigned to in the future. They were all filled with anger now, so they had no intention of repairing it for the convenience of whoever came later. The fact that they had not gathered to block the Hokage residence was already showing considerable restraint toward Konoha's higher-ups. I will post some extra chapters in Patreon, you can check it out. Patreon.com/TitoViller. Chapter 149, Chapter 149, The Uchiha's Original Sin. 1,755 words. As a village within the village, aside from the ninjas who usually teamed up with the Uchiha, ordinary people rarely came here. Especially at a time like this, there were even fewer outsiders who would come to visit the Uchiha clan. Wasn't Rude already blocking the entrance? Anyone who came would be recorded and added to Danzo's little notebook. Ordinary ninjas, wanting to draw a clear line between themselves and the clan, hardly dared to pay a visit at such a time. The Ninetales incident was a watershed moment for the Uchiha. In the past they had been relatively isolated, now they were absolutely isolated. People within the clan territory were all familiar with one another, so the sudden appearance of an unfamiliar face would naturally attract attention. However, most ordinary Uchiha clan members did not recognize Higashino Makoto, but the ninjas did. They might be arrogant by nature and somewhat lacking in emotional intelligence, but they at least understood what it meant for Makoto to come here at this moment. Especially since this man was a hero of Konoha, and held a special status within the village, one that could be considered a representative of the fourth Hokage. So the Uchiha ninjas Makoto encountered along the way mostly nodded to him in greeting, slightly bowing to show their welcome. For this group to go that far was already quite remarkable. The most important reason was that Makoto's strength was right there for everyone to see, and this clan always showed sufficient respect to those strong individuals they acknowledged. The ninja world was a place where strength ruled above all else, and this trait was displayed even more directly among the Uchiha. Without strength, no matter how great your reputation, they would not even bother giving you a second glance. When he arrived at Fugaku's home, the clan leader's reception was rather grand. He had brought his entire family to the door to greet him, as if wanting the clan members to see the results of his work as clan leader, that the Uchiha clan was not completely isolated within the village. The clan's organizational structure was relatively simple. Unlike the Hyuga, who were also an ancient and prestigious family, they did not maintain a main house and branch house system, nor were there any so-called clan elders within the family. As for the few old fellows who were still alive, in recent years they had become dissatisfied with Fugaku's lack of strong leadership, and could hardly be bothered to even speak with him. They rarely even attended clan meetings. Yes, the people of this clan really were that straightforward, the stronger they were, the less they cared for complicated schemes. Clan leader Fugaku appeared very pleased by Makoto's arrival. Makoto, you coming here at this time, has really helped me out a great deal. Fugaku Ajisen, you're being too polite. Seeing that Makoto was still willing to address him as Ajisen, Fugaku's good mood rose another level. No, it's simply the truth. Come, let's go inside and talk. Makoto nodded and gave a slight bow to the young woman beside him. Makoto Nizan, sorry to trouble you. Makoto was taken aback for a moment. She touched her face and happily accepted the gift Makoto handed over. Oh my, what an outstanding junior. Come inside and sit down. Dinner will be ready soon. Fugaku suddenly realized he had been happy too early. Hey, am I really that old? Thinking about it carefully, it did seem to be the case. He was 5 years older than his wife. After they sat down at the dining table, Fugaku said with a hint of regret, if Minato and his family could come today, it would be even livelier. I'm sorry, father. I failed to invite Lord Fourth Hokage, said Itachi, lowering his head in apology while holding his younger brother. Makoto said, Itachi, you were probably stopped as soon as you got close to the Fourth Hokage's house, weren't you? Yes, Makoto-senpai. Why? Makoto did not answer him. Instead, he said to Fugaku, Fugaku Ajisen, at a time like this, inviting me alone is enough. You shouldn't have tried to invite Minato-senpai's family, not even if Itachi is just a child. Fugaku also knew that in his anxiety, he had done something foolish. I didn't think it through. After dinner, Fugaku invited Makoto to the study. Itachi handed his younger brother to his mother and came in behind them carrying tea. He was very interested in what the two were about to discuss, and Fugaku did not stop him. It seemed that he valued his eldest son greatly. At such a young age, he had already taken him to the battlefield to experience the brutal wars between nations, and now he also intentionally allowed him to listen in on this conversation with Makoto. Fugaku spoke very directly. Makoto, our clan's situation right now is very difficult. Only the Sharingan can control a tailed beast. Being suspected and excluded, doesn't that seem perfectly normal? But this truly wasn't done by our clan. To control a tailed beast, the Sharingan must. In short, no one in our clan currently possesses that terrifying level of dojutsu power. The three Tomo Sharingan cannot do it. At present, very few people in the ninja world knew about the Mangekyo Sharingan. Thanks to the ninja secrecy system, even many ninjas within their own clan did not know much about it. Since it concerned the clan's core secrets, it was normal for Fugaku to conceal certain things. Makoto understood him. Every family had its secrets, and he himself was no exception. Unfortunately, Fugaku Ajizan, the Ninetales rampage that night was indeed caused by an Uchiha. Fugaku immediately denied it. Impossible, absolutely impossible. That night, our clan's ninjas were only allowed to evacuate the villagers, and afterward Danzo-sama ordered us not to leave the clan compound. I had people check. Every Uchiha ninja was inside the clan. On this point, Danzo-sama and his root ninjas can all testify. Makoto smiled. Clan leader Fugaku, aren't you being a little naive? You expect advisor Danzo to testify on your behalf. But that is the truth. Makoto, that night only you, Minato, and his wife were present. What exactly happened? How did the Ninetales break through the seal and escape? I said it was done by an Uchiha. I didn't say it was an Uchiha from the village. Then who else could it be? According to my investigation, the Uchiha absolutely have no bloodline that was lost outside. Are you certain? The mysterious man that night claimed to be Uchiha Madara. What? Uchiha Madara? Hearing that name, Fugaku was stunned on the spot. He had never imagined that this person could be involved. But he should have died long ago. Itachi asked curiously, Father, the Uchiha Madara that Makoto-senpai mentioned, is he the former clan leader of our clan who founded Konoha together with the first Hokage? That's right, it's him. But he should have died decades ago at the hands of the first Hokage. Makoto offered a slight hint. Is it possible he only faked his death? After all, there are many strange ninjutsu in this world that can preserve one's life. It wouldn't be surprising if Uchiha Madara had mastered one of them. Fugaku froze for a moment. That really was possible. As clan leader, he naturally understood this best. The Uchiha clan itself possessed such a technique, a genjutsu capable of reversing death and rewriting an unfavorable outcome, Izanagi. Could it really have been Uchiha Madara? On the contrary, Minato-senpai and I both believe it wasn't Uchiha Madara himself. His personality and methods don't match. But whether it was him or a bloodline he left behind outside, the result for your Uchiha clan is the same, isn't it? It won't change your situation. Fugaku suddenly felt powerless. Makoto was right. No matter which possibility it was, in the end the blame would still fall on the Uchiha clan. Even if they managed to capture the mysterious man and hand him over to Konoha for judgment, it would not help. It might even make matters worse. If you can capture the culprit who controlled the Ninetales, doesn't that mean your clan already possesses the same ability? Or could it be that this is just a staged performance, that you were accomplices all along? The fact that the Sharingan can control a tailed beast was itself the original sin. No matter what they did, it would still be wrong. In other words, they were completely trapped. There was no way out at all. Fugaku felt somewhat discouraged. He had originally hoped to prove his clan's innocence through the testimony of someone who had been there that night, but reality had dealt him a heavy blow. Fortunately, he quickly reacted. Makoto agreeing to come to his home today was itself a sign of trust, wasn't it? If he believed them, that meant the fourth Hokage also believed them. As for that group of old men around the third Hokage, Fugaku had already seen through them. They were completely unreliable. He asked with concern, "How are Minato and Kushina doing now?" Fugaku-Ajisen, that's not something you should ask. No matter what relationship your two families had in the past, you must keep your distance now. You're right. Then, Makoto, what do you think our clan should do now? Keep a low profile. Lie low and wait for the situation to change. No matter what the mysterious person's goal is, they won't remain hidden forever. One day they will reveal themselves. And Fugaku-Ajisen, as the clan leader of the Uchiha, the most important thing you should do right now is not try to prove the clan's innocence. You can't prove it. The urgent priority is to stabilize things internally and prevent the conflict between the clan and the village from deepening further. Fugaku sighed. There's nothing else we can do. Fortunately, you and Minato are still willing to believe in our clan. As long as the Uchiha always stand on Konoha's side, they are our companions. We will not abandon our companions because of suspicion. That is not permitted by the will of fire. Standing to the side, Itachi's eyes sparkled. So this was Makoto-senpai's will of fire. Never abandoning any companion who had fallen into difficulty. Even the Uchiha clan, suspected by everyone, were still believed in, and worth seeking a solution for. Such a will of fire was truly wonderful. I will post some extra chapters in Patreon, you can check it out. Patreon.com/TitoViller. Chapter 150, Chapter 150, Shimura Danzo decides to make a big move. 1937 words. The next day, Makoto ended his leave, and went to report to the Umbu. Inside the activity room of the 4th Hokage's guard unit, the Genma's squad and Hiate's squad had already arrived. After seeing Makoto come in, Yugao asked with concern, "Makoto, is your body all right now?" "No problem. Do I look like something's wrong with me?" "Our sensei really is something. Why didn't he let you rest a few more days?" Hiate explained, "Because the Umbu are short-handed." What he said was correct. The Umbu of the two Hokage administrations had originally been meant to transition gradually. But on the night of the Ninetales attack, the Umbu directly under the third Hokage had almost been wiped out by Obito. Those guys were truly unlucky. They had originally been on the verge of leaving the Umbu roster and living as normal shinobi under the sunlight, yet in the end they were all taken out in a single wave. No one knew what kind of crazy flags they had set before going on that mission. A moment later, Kumomi walked in. Genma asked, "Captain Grey Falcon, do we still count as the Hokage's guard unit now?" "Of course you do. The 4th Hokage is only recovering from his injuries. He's still alive, so naturally you are still members of his guard unit." "Will the mission assignments remain the same as before?" "Yes, the same as before. However, because the Umbu suffered heavy losses this time, our missions will likely become more frequent. Besides your original duties, you will also need to carry out orders from the 3rd Hokage. You should prepare yourselves mentally." Genma was full of energy. "No problem. I've long been ready." Yugao raised the question everyone wanted to ask. Then do we count as the Umbu of the 3rd Hokage, or the Umbu of the 4th Hokage? Kumomi answered without hesitation, "There's no need to distinguish. We are all Konoha's Umbu." This was the 3rd Hokage's decision. He had already spoken with Kumomi, asking him to continue rebuilding the new Umbu and prepare for the 4th Hokage's eventual return. As a temporary acting Hokage, he did not intend to sit in that position for too long. Once he sat there for too long, Minato's significance as the successor would be weakened endlessly. Hiruzen understood this very clearly. After everything was explained, Genma and the other two went to the area near Minato's home to relieve Kakashi's squad. As for Makoto's squad, their mission was to go to the Hokage building and be responsible for protecting the third Hokage. Inside the Hokage's office, Hiruzen had already arrived early for work. He was completely accustomed to these matters. After all, he had served as Hokage for decades, and everything was already thoroughly familiar to him. However, things were no longer the same as before. His wife Biwaka was gone, and after handling his mother's funeral, his eldest son had also thrown himself into umbu duties. As for Asuma, that brat had completely fallen out with him because of his mother's death. At home, they could hardly exchange more than a few words before starting an argument. What an unfilial troublemaker. Could he not be like his older brother and understand his father's hardships as Hokage? After finishing the documents in his hands, Hiruzen was about to take out the crystal ball, and as before, use his secret technique to observe the village's situation. But he suddenly realized that after Minato took office, because he himself possessed sensory abilities, he had no use for that thing. The crystal ball had been moved back to his home, and was no longer in the Hokage's office. With a sigh, Hiruzen refilled his pipe with tobacco, then paced up to the roof of the Hokage building. As he smoked, he admired Konohagakure, the village he had protected for decades. The environment outside was far from quiet. Construction sites were everywhere, yet he did not find it noisy. After standing there for a long time, he suddenly said, "Makoto, you're there, aren't you?" Makoto used the body flicker technique to appear in front of him. "Third Hokage-sama, I'm here. Yesterday, Jiraiya and Tsunade returned and you were present as well, correct?" "Yes." "Tell me the process in detail." The two returned at around noon, and went directly to the fourth Hokage's home. After the meal, Tsunade-sama carried out a detailed examination of the fourth Hokage and Kushina-sensei. After confirming that they were safe and sound and only needed more time to recover, she left together with Jiraiya-sama. Only that. Before Tsunade-sama left, she taught me the techniques for using monster strength. Oh? Have you learned it? I have already grasped the basics. Makoto, you possess a talent that even this old man envies. Tsunade, she still cares greatly for the younger generation in the village. After saying that, the third Hokage silently added in his mind, just not for me, her sensei. After returning to the village, she did not even come with Jiraiya to visit me. Of course, he understood the reason. Those two disciples had become dissatisfied with him as their teacher. You overpraise me, Hokage-sama. No, I do not. And so, Makoto, you are Konoha's future. Just like Minato, I have placed great expectations on you. As Hiruzen spoke, he suddenly changed the subject. I heard that last night you went to Clan Head Fugaku's home as a guest. Yes, Hokage-sama. Then, Makoto, I want to know the reason you were willing to go. Was it because of your relationship with Shisui? It was not because of Shisui. Up to now, everything I have done to train myself has been for the sake of protecting Konoha and my comrades. Even if that comrade is now under suspicion, I still will not give up on them. Because once I do, it may leave that comrade in an even more isolated and helpless position, and push them into an abyss from which there is no turning back. Is that so? But what if the suspicion is confirmed? Anything that harms the health of this great tree called Konoha is my enemy. I will show no mercy. Very good, Makoto. Your will of fire is very firm. Continue to maintain it. I will, Hokage-sama. Inside the root base, Danzo summoned a subordinate and asked, "Where is Orochimaru?" Danzo-sama, Orochimaru went out yesterday with his disciple to carry out a mission. Oh? That fellow still has the leisure for that. Do you know where he went? He accepted an escort commission for a merchant caravan and headed east, in the direction of the land of the sea. Danzo did not believe that Snake would honestly carry out a mission. He must have used the mission as a pretext to handle his own affairs. But that was not important. Whether Orochimaru was present or not did not matter. Danzo had decided he would no longer endure, he was going to make a big move. Go and gather those who currently have no mission. Yes. A moment later, more than a dozen root shinobi knelt on one knee before him, waiting for his orders. Among them was the wood-release user whom Danzo treasured and raised like a precious asset, Kino. He was a boy roughly the same age as Makoto, the only successful case Danzo had discovered in Orochimaru's abandoned wood-release laboratory. Even Orochimaru did not know about this matter. After discovering him, Danzo had been overjoyed, and had vigorously nurtured him as his secret weapon. He was full of confidence in Kino. Because of the first Hokage, people of their older generation held a special obsession and bias toward wood-release, always believing that wood-release meant invincibility. Unfortunately, the one who had been invincible was Senju Hashirama, not wood-release. Seeing that his subordinates had assembled, Danzo began his speech. The Sharingan controlled the Ninetales in an attempt to destroy Konoha. The Uchiha clan cannot escape responsibility. Yet the weak fourth Hokage not only refuses to pursue their accountability, he even allows his guard unit to maintain contact with that clan. Such a person is not worthy of being Konoha's Hokage. The third Hokage also fails to see this clearly. Instead of immediately selecting a new Hokage, he has even returned to power, waiting for the fourth Hokage to recover and resume his position. They will destroy Konoha. I absolutely will not allow such a thing to happen. Tomorrow, the third Hokage will depart for the capital to negotiate with the daimyo. I order you to kill him on the way, but make it look as if it was done by rogue shinobi. Yes. All the root shinobi responded in unison. No one questioned it. The training they had received en route was to strictly execute Danzo's orders, no asking why, only carrying out the mission. Let alone killing the third Hokage, if they were told to kill the daimyo, they would not even furrow their brows. All right. Go make your preparations. I will wait for your good news. The root shinobi quickly vanished. Once only Danzo remained, he stood quietly inside the root base, contemplating the gains and losses of the mission. If it succeeded, that would naturally be the best outcome. He would force Homura and Koharu to stand on his side and support him in taking the position of the next Hokage. If Minato was indeed only pretending to be injured, as Orochimaru had said, and stepped forward to take charge after the third Hokage was killed, that would be even better. When the third Hokage was alive, you pretended to be ill, but once he died, your illness was suddenly cured. Clearly, it would mean that, dissatisfied with becoming the third Hokage's puppet, you had secretly colluded with rogue shinobi outside the village, and had them eliminate him in order to seize Konoha's power for yourself. As the Shadow Hokage, Danzo had already prepared a burden that the fourth Hokage would never be able to shake off. If the third Hokage did not die and was merely severely injured, that same blame could still be pushed onto the fourth Hokage. Even if it could not convict him, it would still strip him of the qualification to remain Hokage. At that time, as the one who exposed the conspiracy, Danzo would naturally be able to become the next Hokage. The worst result would be the mission failing. But that would have been done by rogue shinobi. What would it have to do with him, Shimura Danzo? Could that deceive the third Hokage? Perhaps not. The main reason was that the two of them understood each other far too well. But precisely because of that understanding, Danzo believed Hiruzen would not do anything to him. Since there was no cost either way, why not go all in? Win and become Hokage. Lose and suffer no loss. In a gamble like this, he wished he could push all his chips in every day. As for the root shinobi who might die, Danzo did not consider that a cost. In his eyes, it was a necessary sacrifice for putting Konoha back on the correct path. It could only be said that the position of Hokage had already become an obsession in Danzo's heart. His lack of ability also made his methods extremely crude, a classic case of ambition exceeding talent. If Orochimaru had been present, he would certainly have been cursing him in his mind as an idiot. I will post some extra chapters in Patreon, you can check it out. Patreon.com/TitoViller. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Novels Wonderland.